Let's see.
Let me actually update the airspace closed near Havre, Montana.
So this is on YouTube that I'm watching. I'm about to send it to you right now. I forgot I didn't even send it. I just started. Well, I didn't know. I didn't even see you on live. That's all.
Defense activity.
My bad.
No, you good. Oh, it don't matter to me.
Surprise element.
Right. I should have said something about one of these dirty motherfuckers out here. But do that shit for something. No, I was gonna go check raw alerts though. That's where I've been getting a lot of my recent information. Yep. So F-15s out of Portland have been scrambled with a northbound heading. So we're gonna give it to y'all raw. Whatever going on, we're gonna give it to y'all. We ain't, let's see, because we want to know what's going on, just like everybody else want to know what's going on.
Facts.
I'm going to tell you the easiest way to make money at home, and you
No, we're not. How about that?
% have never heard of this before.
Nope, I haven't.
So there it is on Sky Vector here.
Oh, this guy.
That's where it is sorry, let me
So it says
zoom out.
a NOTAM has been issued by the FAA for an area over Havre, Montana. The airspace has been defined as a national defense airspace. Another shoot down is most definitely imminent. It's currently unclear if it is related to another unknown object.
Sky Vector. We're talking about northern Montana.
I think that this is pure.
That one right here.
What's the word I'm looking for? Maybe some pure panic and fear instilling in folks, because I gotta find the episode of his show to share with y'all, but just knowing the way we've always historically seen the countries when it comes to war, like the Cold War, the arms race, different things in our history. I wouldn't be surprised if this is part of some kind of way to stoke war and division between us, Russia, and China. So even though it's cause for alarm when it comes to a security risk, I'm kind of like on one hand, I'm like, wah, wah. But then on the other hand, we should know about these kinds of things. But isn't there other news that should be out in the forefront? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, tons of other stuff. Jackson, Mississippi. And we can get to that too. However, I'm always trying to think about why the mainstream media puts certain news stories out when they do and why they do. So that's more or less where my head is thinking at as far as why this story is out. But I want to know what your thoughts are, Chaz.
Honestly, that there was for so long, they always told us that to me, I think it's a deflect distract tactic. I think this has been going on for years and years, and I think people are, social media is such you can get so many people's attention in just seconds by just a headline or, breaking news, because it's crazy how everybody's watching what's going on in Montana, but we just had an officer-involved shooting in St. Paul, Minnesota. So to me, it's what do people really stand for? Because I think we get so, like, we always talk about attention spans. That's one thing that me and you talk about when it comes to the content that we want to put up or we want to talk about or discuss, is because how do you catch people's attention spans? Because that's one thing that I've noticed since, coming into this movement, is we're so quick to jump on to the next name or the next big, whatever. And that's the part that bugs me, because we don't even get closure with the tragedy and the trauma that we just went through. And yet we rush off to another name, another story that needs justice. So I think that's what bugs it for me, is like, it's things like this that gets people's attention, but it really should be things that happen in our own communities that we should really be paying attention to before it's too late. Because I see a lot of people, complaining on the internet, on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, about their politics. But the question I have is, do you vote? And what do you vote for? Like, because I see all these people complain, but then it's like, I want to ask them, well, who the fuck did you vote for? Because there can't be this many people complaining, and yet we didn't vote the right way. You know what I'm saying?
Right. But also, let me ask you this, Chaz. Like, does it matter who they voted for?
Yeah, to me, partly it does. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I feel like you had, like, especially this last election cycle here in Minnesota, you had so many so-called activists running for seats. But yet the first thing they passed is something that wasn't even on the ballot, something that isn't, our community doesn't need right now because it wasn't at risk. Abortion, we have violence at an uptick, you know what I'm saying? Like homelessness. And I don't see them focusing their resources, their time and their attention on the things that are going on in the districts that they so-called live in. So it makes me wonder, do you even live in the district?
Right.
That's what bugs me. And honestly, what's going on in the world does matter, because, as we've seen with everything that goes on, it affects us some way, some form of fashion. When I remember when 9/11 happened, and I was living in Winona, Minnesota. But the thing that strikes me from that is the next day, how people were lined up for gas and how quick it went up overnight. You know what I'm saying? How people were rushed to the grocery store because they thought World War III was imminent. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's always good to be prepared for something. But it's like, what are we prepared for? Because I believe that everything that the conspiracy,
what they tell us to be.
Right. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, look at the 10 years, 12 years of the Iraq and Afghanistan eras,
Right. Well, not even that.
Gave a lot of people a whole bunch of PTSD, chopped off legs, arms, and disabilities,
Well, definitely that too. But for me, I go on another scale of thinking, and I take it to another realm of woulda, shoulda, coulda. You know what I'm saying? When it comes down to that, because I just think about the last few years since George Floyd, and I've seen all these people that were supposed to be for us, right, talking about, oh yeah, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, but yet got in the office and they haven't done shit. And this ain't a Minnesota issue. This is an issue everywhere. And that's why I say, what do we really stand for? Because I heard a lot of people out here talking about no justice, no peace, but yet we're asking the United Nations for justice, which should come from our own country. That to me, it doesn't make any sense to me of how we're going outside of our country to get justice for something that happened inside of our own country.
Right.
So if we're doing that, why do we even have a DOJ? Why do we have an FBI? Why do we have a Homeland Security? Why do we have any of that?
Plausible deniability.
Right.
In war crimes and crimes against humanity and domestic crimes and experiments. They get away with whatever they want because other entities and corporations, private entities, and ordinary people that just have tons of money do it on behalf, not necessarily on behalf of the United States, but they happen to live in the United States, and the United States reaps the benefits.
Right. Oh yeah, definitely. And that's one thing that I've learned over this last 3 years too, is politicians don't become politicians. They're picked.
Right.
You know, I used to think that they were elected. No, they're selected. Because it's like, you know how they call like people that are transgender, they call them groomers when they be going to the drag shows. See, I don't see these caucuses or like the RNC or the DNC. I kind of look at that as groomers too, because you look at some of these people, like I'm gonna tell you where I'm going with this, right? They groom them to be just like they are, maybe not 100%, but they groom the same ideology, the same theories to be behind that machine, because they bought into something. So now they got to choose somebody else to follow in their exact footsteps.
You gotta keep the heritage.
Right. So that's where I see it, because I mean, I look back at it with what even Omar, you know, who was congressional district number 5, who was Keith Ellison first. But then I think about even this past election was Zanaa Muhammad and how she won. And it's like, then you got to look at the people that were endorsing her. So it made me wonder, like, I see how it is. They just sit there, they pick and choose, you know what I'm saying? And then they get behind, because there was, especially when you see a lot of money getting put behind candidates that have no sense of policy or any of that. But I don't want to take over the whole point of view show, just talking about.
This is what it's about, point of view. You got me thinking about the last congressional race with Nina Brown and Nina Turner and Shontel Brown.
Right.
It was last year, and how, mind you, shout out to Cuyahoga County and area, and Cleveland, Akron, Ohio in general. But she's for the people, by the people, still is.
Right.
Very outspoken, considers herself, you know, like an activist, an advocate, and everything. And
Shontel was, you know, they're both Democrat, so supposedly, well, Chantel's a Democrat. I think Nina considers herself a socialist. However, Shontel Brown at the last minute got endorsed by lots and lots of dollars of, I think, corporate backings, and the squad decided to not endorse anyone. I think the first time around they did endorse Nina Turner, but it's just, my point is how quick it's easy for all this money to pour in from nowhere,
Right.
out of nowhere, follow the money,
Right.
and just decimate candidates who actually are the blood of the people.
Big fact.
And so you don't just have this sea that our people are diving into anymore. They're reaching out of the sea and pulling us in just to drown us as well. So I wanted to drive that home and keep that in mind, that Nina Turner has been the most recent example of someone that really gave their all, not once, but twice, for the people, by the people. And I don't want to say God didn't get anywhere. It's history. She made a public statement. And now this is public record for people to have as a blueprint. And I'm sure that a lot of people got inspired by her. I myself definitely have been inspired by Nina Turner and the things that she says and does, and how she stays firm in fighting for the rights of all of us, especially Black and brown people. Chantel Brown, by the way, the person she was running against. Sorry, my nose is so stuffy. So if I sound really stuffy, that's why. Chantel Brown, her opponent, is also black.
Okay.
But she had the corporate backing. Race is an issue. Race, a lot of times has a lot to do with a lot of things, but also we got to talk about class. We got to talk about corporate interests, lobbyists. America as a corporation. And that's also something that people need to think about too, the capitalist aspect of these kinds of things too.
I just had to touch on that real quick.
See what's going on in Montana.
Yeah.
See what's going on with Agenda Free.
Okay, he's still alive.
For Department of Defense activities is right now what's going on do we have another object being shot down? Is that what's going to happen? So let me see what other information I can give you. I bet we're going to hear about another object being shot down. That's my hunch.
Does that really surprise people? And to be honest, no shit surprise me anymore.
I would come on now. They put this in the media for days, and there's been a whole media circus about it. Of course, people are going to be outraged if they don't.
Right.
You'll have more refueling tankers, and then you have fighters that refuel from the tankers. Right. Hey, who knows? Maybe that report about fighters scrambling from Portland that we heard a couple hours ago was true. I don't know. It might have been true. So again, breaking news, the airspace around Havre, Montana has been closed for Department of Defense activities. And we have a U.S. Air Force refueling tanker flying in the area. And again, I would not be surprised if we hear about another object being shot down after today. Remember, earlier today, the U.S. shot a U.S. Air Force jet, a U.S. F-22 shot down an object over Canada. And yesterday, a U.S. Air Force jet shot down an object off the northern coast of Alaska. And now, is this some sort of...
Yo, I'm going to send you this flight radar. There's a lot of jets right now over Montana. That's crazy. Wow.
Concerted new type of action approach being taken to objects, weird objects flying over the U.S.
Yeah, this is wow. People should really. I didn't even. It's crazy that we can even look at stuff like this.
Let me try to get you more information here. Let me know what you're hearing at Lookner on Twitter.
So U.S. Air Force. Where's Havre at? Let's see if I can find Havre on here. I don't know where exactly it's at. There's Fort Benton. I guess that would be around Fort Benton. Yeah, that's. I don't know. It's just flying around Fort Benton.
This is pretty cool, though.
Right. That's interesting.
It's my type of shit, right up my alley.
Wow. Yeah, it says it's the U.S. Air Force. It's a Tusky, or no, it's a KC Boeing 135I. I ain't never even heard of that before. I'm gonna Google it though. 'Cause that's what we do when we don't know something. We Google it.
Right.
Because that's what you're supposed to do. So it is an American military aerial refueling aircraft that was developed. Oh, why would they be doing a tanker with gas or refueling? So that means there's other jets up there then. But I can't tell by that.
Yeah. I think that's what the other guy was trying to explain.
Yeah, because I see like planes, but not no. Because that tanker came from Washington, Spokane. So it came a grip to go there. And that's all it's doing is flying around. And there's a lot of planes out right now.
Thanks.
So where's Fort Grand? Yeah, they ain't doing nothing but still just flying around. That's an Airbus, Delta, private owner. Yeah, that's all I'm seeing is that now it seems like
I want to touch on this real quick because I think we've talked about this before. But the other murder that happened, or the other assault that happened, I'll just read this article for y'all because my tongue's getting twisted. Officer and Tyree Nichols. Fair photo of dying Nichols. Cops assaulted another man days before. Among the notable guests, and this is via Democracy Now! You can go to democracynow.org/headlines. Among the notable guests at the State of the Union addresses were Tyree Nichols' parents, who accompanied the First Lady, Joe Biden. This comes as 7 more Memphis police officers are under investigation following the deadly beating of the 29-year-old black father last month, Tyree Nichols. City Attorney Jennifer Sink said Tuesday the officers who haven't been identified will likely be notified of charges by next week. Meanwhile, the city of Memphis has asked the Justice Department to conduct a review of its police, which would include an assessment of special units and its policies on use of force. Excuse me. In the wake of Tyree Nichols' killing, Memphis disbanded the Scorpion Police Unit that the 5X officers who beat Nichols belonged to. They all have been charged with second-degree murder. New documents revealed Tuesday one of the officers, Demetrius Haley, took and shared a photo of Nichols as he sat propped up against a police car, nearly was unconscious, covered in blood, and handcuffed at that. And the officer sent the photo to at least 5 people, including an acquaintance outside of the police department. After the beating, the officers also shouted profanities at Nichols and were seen laughing and bragging with each other. A federal lawsuit filed accuses the same 5 officers of assaulting another young black man just 3 days before their encounter with Nichols. 22-year-old Montarius Harris says the officers punched, stomped, and dragged him across concrete as they arrested him. This was back on January 4th. And take a look at what they did to this young man. It's crazy.
Raw alerts.
And
so they've just issued a notice barring flights in an area about 50 by 50 nautical miles around Hare, whatever, Montana, near the Canadian border, and classifying the area as national defense airspace. Unidentified object.
It's a goose chase. I'm telling you. I mean, I'm not saying that
But
shit
why
didn't crash.
wouldn't it? Okay, so if we can sit there and see like all these planes flying around, right? Why can't we see this unknown flying ass object?
I did see something actually that I will be. I'll send you an article that somebody just put up about the CIA or the FBI or something is actually has this open case that they're now investigating UFOs, specific legitimate ones to make contact or some shit. I was like, oh, it piqued my interest, but I didn't get a chance to actually have the time to look at it. But now, hopefully, if I remember. Did I put the link to Democracy Now! In here? I wanted to remind people of, no, I didn't. I wanted to remind people of Raheem Taylor. Rest in peace. And tell people his story because this man didn't deserve to die. So the state of Missouri executed Raheem Taylor despite him being innocent and maintaining his innocence since day one and his calls for a stay. So Leonard Raheem Taylor was executed by lethal injection after Governor Mike Parson refused to grant him clemency or a stay, despite calls from the Innocence Project, the NAACP, and others. 58-year-old Taylor had always maintained his innocence, asserting he was nearly 2,000 miles away at the time of the quadruple murder of his then girlfriend and her children in 2004. He's been sitting in prison since. The Innocence Project also raised concerns about the competence of the lawyer who represented him at trial. In a final statement, Taylor wrote, quote, Muslims don't die. We live eternally in the hearts of our family and friends. Taylor is the third person to be executed in Missouri since November and the fifth person to be executed in the U.S. this year. And Israeli forces, we're going to keep you updated on Israel and Palestine in the conflict because y'all know shit's going to ramp up. In the occupied West Bank, Israeli soldiers have killed yet another Palestinian teenager in the city of Nablus. 17-year-old Hamza al-Ashkar, was fatally shot in the face as Israeli forces conducted raids and dozens of arrests across the West Bank Tuesday. I'll show you a photo. Because this is a classic photo of what you always will see.
Right.
And they attack them at their own funerals on top of it. It's just madness out there. And the fact that we give them money and we egg this on and we condone it is just not, it's just not right. It's not right. And Americans need to wake up and see what they endorse. What's that?
So that's the way it will always be.
It's true. It's what we do to feed and fund the lives that we have right now, is to enable stuff like this. Crazy. I think this is cause for alarm. Over 1/3 of the U.S. animals and plants are at risk of extinction in the U.S. That's staggering. That's not just like, oh no, that's a huge number. I think we talked about this. Yusef Salaam, one of the exonerated Central Park Five, to run for Harlem City Council seat, and I'm for it. I know that the other person who's running with him is a lot more progressive than he is, so you know how I am. I'm gonna roll with the progressive. Who sent us something? I 'cause 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 'c What in the hell?
Reminds me of Jude, the movie Juice.
What?
When
The
the background music when
uh
when Tupac and Bishop were going back and forth, that damn near the end when Q was trying to kill him. I should say Bishop was
yo,
trying to kill Q. I think that's how it went.
you right. You right.
Something like that. Adidas says dropping Kanye West could cost it more than $1 billion in sales.
Mm.
Yay.
Has anyone heard from him yet?
I guess he went on a date, or he got married or some shit. No, I don't know. It was one of them.
So he's okay.
Yeah, he all right.
All right. That's all that matters.
He just laying in the cut, making sure that Trump don't take back America. No, because what's crazy is I just want to say something about this though. Like, so riding around, was that yesterday? Hold on, I'll find a picture that'll tell me what day it was. I think it was yesterday though. But so we're driving around for Amazon and come up to this house. And then they got, I get it. Everybody got signs, whoopie whoop, you know what I mean? But damn, I ain't never seen one of these signs. And it was Trump 2024, take America back. And I'm like, so what the fuck does he mean with that? Because, when he ran the last election, it was make America great again. Take it back to 1776, which gave white men control, you know what I'm saying, which the Constitution was initially intentionally wrote for, which that's why we have so many goddamn amendments. Boy, that's a whole nother conversation. But it just makes me think like, damn, what does he mean, take America back? Who has it? Like, aren't we all Americans? I mean, is he talking about them, driver's license for all? Is he because the borders are open? Is it because like you don't need a passport to come to America?
Well, would you like to hear? Okay, so on Find Your Boots, I think it was, we were talking about it was a debate from 1974 with this black woman who was a doctor who was schooling a racist, somewhat eugenicsy type of white, old school, older white
Right.
and she's explaining to him how the white race is actually just a mutation genetically from the human race, and that's why you have the blonde hair, blue eyes, or lighter skin.
Well, because that's because they're from the mountains of Caucasus.
It's an adaptation to starting not just in the Caucasus Mountains, but just in the colder climates in general. It's an adaptation
Right.
to colder climates. It's a mutation. So they are not the norm, which means they are at higher risk of extinction. In fact, they actually are at risk of extinction. And there are more of us than there are them. That's a given. It'll always be that way, given melanated people are the OG. We're the blueprint. We are the norm, and we dominate this planet.
Right.
White so-called people are the minority overall on the planet. They are the minority. They inherently know this, and I think it is in them. Evolution. In order to protect your race or your being or your species, you have to find some kind of defense mechanisms. Theirs is racism because it ensures that they stay at the top of the hierarchy so that they ensure their survival. If they do not do that, they would not therefore inherently be human or doing themselves any justice. So I don't blame them. It's what they're supposed to do given that they are the mutated people. They are not the prototype, they are not the original. They have to protect their livelihood, their bloodline, or else they won't exist. They'll be blueprinted out. They'll be stamped out. And when you look at the smaller microcosm, America, and what they're doing with take America back, I think that's what it really comes down to, is their inherent primal instinct, whether they realize it or not. I think that's what it really comes down to. I feel threatened because my very existence on a cellular level is threatened. The more of these darker melanated people that are around and are here, the more chance I have of not being here. Therefore, I have to band with more of the non-melanated people to ensure that I have a life. I think that's what Take America Back comes down to.
Man,
And
like YG said, fuck Donald Trump. Fuck.
but I think when we think about ourselves in that way, all people of color, anyone that is melanated, and it's not to discredit anyone that's albino or anyone that is white. However, think about survival of species.
Ain't no difference than survival of the fittest.
Exactly.
You know,
What's that?
no, I know you like to think about all like everything that goes on and on Earth, you know, not that that's a bad
Can't
thing.
help it.
I know, but it's like I just keep on going back to Tyree Nichols and Jaheim McMillan and how, you know, even when you do comply with the police and your skin color has pigment, you know, it's a little tint to it, we're a threat. But then I just see this out of Baltimore, a 23-year-old white guy shot two police, stole one of their cars, went on a chase, standoff, and he don't have a lick on, he don't have a mark.
Yep,
So it's like, how the fuck does that happen?
because it shows our justice systems plural. We have more than one, and we're only a part of one. You and I.
But that just, it fucks me up because like we could literally be compliant. We can literally just be going about our day. And because maybe I'm black, or maybe because it was Casey Goodson and he's got a Subway sandwich, or maybe it's Andre Hill and he got a cell phone, or maybe it's Tamir Rice and he got a Nerf gun, or it's Trayvon Martin because he got a hoodie on and he ain't in the right neighborhood, and maybe the wrong color Skittles. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I don't understand it because what makes me look, you know, and what's crazy is it brings me back to a conversation that I had with a white man in Red Wing, Minnesota. And this is where I went from calling people racist as well, because, you know, there's a lot of white people that would be in Red Wing that had this one black friend, you know, but then would call me a nigger. So I'd be like, well, how aren't they racist? Well, but, you know, they'd be like, well, I got that one black friend. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, you answer this, Mom.
Yeah.
But they'd be like, I got that one black friend. So then I started to think, what was different from me than him, because we both have the same complexion. We're both big black guys. Oh, I know what it is. It's Negrophobia, because he's like them. I'm not. I grew up in a different area, and I call them out on their bullshit when they say goofy ass shit like monkeys, or they say ignorant ass shit, or maybe disrespectful, where I'll call them out, and there's other people won't, that look like me, won't call them out. So that's where I really more call it as Negrophobia, because what I've learned about a phobia is you're scared of something that you can't understand, or you're scared to face it.
Right.
So, and that's where I see it at, is that they don't want to look in the mirror and no, tell her to come on over. I'm only going to be on for like another 10 minutes. But you know what I'm saying?
Also lack of education.
Right. And it is. It's a lack of education.
Because even if we can learn something about, we learn about India and Egypt in school. So
well, not
we
everybody.
don't have
I've been
right,
around
not
people that
everybody.
didn't even know who Gandhi was. So
Oh God. But
right.
but the theory is that when you learn about faraway lands and you learn enough about their culture, you have less of a prejudice to them and more of a pure ignorance and a wonder
Right.
because of lack of knowledge. So when you say, like, you study basic knowledge about China and then you go there, you're going to say and do things that are ignorant and foolish because you don't know everything, but you have a basic enough knowledge to not look down on them, hopefully, or think of them as like different or less than you just because they live a different kind of lifestyle than you do. And I think that's maybe something we could stand to practice some more as a society.
Right.
However, given the society that we're all born into, I give everyone some leeway and credit as to how they're coping and dealing with the American system and how it drains us, you know. So, but also when you go to other countries, act right.
Right. Yeah. No, I feel you on that. We don't need no more Brittany Griner situations.
That too.
You know what I'm saying? Especially
That
if you're
too.
black. Don't be going over there being all crazy.
If you black and you go to China, be prepared to play for them to play with you like gummy bears.
Right.
Because they will tug on your hair, they will chase you down the street like a whole crazy mob, but they're not trying to harm you. It's just that they don't see black people like that, and they're just in a state of wonder. Just saying,
Right.
look up the story. And so, and it's just, you know, some homogenous countries, especially in East Asia, are that way. And it's not necessarily racism, it's more so prejudice and lack of knowledge, ignorance. However, I think this is also a modern age thing, because historically there have always been Africans in Asia, and there's always been trade between China, the East, the Far East, and Africa. So
Right.
it's not like they haven't been exposed to black people. I think it's just more recent
Right.
in our time, you know, modern history. So that's my take on that.
Mm. No, I dig that. I dig that. And I want to talk about too is things that we have coming up here, and
Yes.
you know, in this next, I would say 10 to 14 days. You know, I really want to, I'm excited about Monday. Have an interview with the director of documentary that is coming out. They Sleep Among Us, and Aaron Johnson. I'm very excited about that. You know, I've known Aaron for a few years now, and got to do various things with Aaron. I actually went out to Standing Rock. He was a part of the group that went out there. He was a part of that. Went up to Bemidji for Hardale.
Can, but
Ha-
not very well.
Hardale, Sherelle, babe.
Yeah.
Hardale, Sherelle. Um, you know, so it's various. Also, you know, he has his own fight for, you know, disabled people. And then Wednesday, I'm happy to announce that I am doing the, you know, the Leon Block. We are doing a collaborative podcast with Marvina Haynes called "Wrongfully Convicted." Is that the new slavery? You know, we're really going to get into that. We're going to talk to people. You're not just going to hear their stories. You're actually going to be able to talk to the individuals that we're talking about. So you get to hear not just from, you know, people that are out here fighting for their freedom, but also the people that we are trying to free. So I hope people do pay attention to that. And I'm really excited that, you know, this was something that I did go to Marvina with. And she has tons of cases and wrongfully convicted brothers and sisters that need their stories told.
Yes.
And if not now, then when? And if not us, then who?
Yeah.
And this is what I got into this for. I don't even want to be considered an activist anymore. I want to be considered a journalist because I think that's one thing that is really, really missed in our communities is people knowing the truth, what is going on, regardless of whatever it looks like. I think people just want the truth, the good, the bad, the ugly. They just wanted the truth, though. So that's where I really changed my outlook of this. And if you don't have questions, you really should, you know, and that's what I want people to pay attention to. And as well, I haven't made an event yet for this, but on the 19th, next Sunday, we'll be having Sunshine Harris and Grant Smith out of Arkansas to talk about legislation that is in Arkansas, especially about Amend Act 539, which is about amending an act that is not allowed to sentence juveniles to life in prison and to really go retroactive and go backwards and to include people that are already incarcerated. So, and free Corey Harris, and free Marvin Haynes, Darnell McDaniels, and that's who will be our first case for wrongfully convicted. Will be Darnell McDaniels out of Rochester, Minnesota. You're going to hear. Now, I want people to understand that they don't have a lot of time on these phones. So when it comes to hearing their stories, I really want them to get out the information that they want people to know the most and what's going to help free them the most. So please pay attention because you will be hearing from Marvin Haynes, which is Marvina Haynes' brother. I'm hoping to get him on at some point very soon. But so many others, and I definitely will keep updated as we go along so that people can help Mr. McDaniels and just to learn about his case and how he was wrongfully convicted, but also know how he's holding up because I think a lot of people, we forget about out of sight, out of mind. And that's the one thing that I think us on the outside and even people that, you know, fight for these families, you know, it's so quick to be, if they're not in your face all the time, they're not on your mind. You know what I'm saying? So I know I can't really say how I must feel for for some of these families that are victims of police brutality and they've lost loved ones to say that, that out of sight, out of mind, because there should never be out of sight, out of mind in a situation where their life was stolen, so that's why, I was excited when you asked me to be on the Living in Purpose, song, because I never really did have. I mean, I had a purpose, but I didn't really know what my purpose was until I got into this. And it's really, I think I've been like this my whole life, and it's been to better others around me, and to make sure that others are forgotten. You know what I'm saying? I'm 45 years old, about to be 46, and we all have our own journeys, our own walks of life. And there's, one name that will always stick with me, and a best friend that I lost at a very young age. His name was Montreal, and that is a name that will forever live in my memories, and live in my everyday life, for the simple fact of that it was a stolen life, even though that it was a suicide. With the right resources and the right services, Montreal's life could have been saved. And that's all I want to do. I know I can't save everybody, but it's the ones that you are able to touch, the ones that you are able to reach, and the smiles that I see every day, the messages, is what keeps me going. And that's my purpose. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of things are coming up on the Leon Block, and I'm grateful with not only with just news, but with, spoken affirmations, music, interviews. We want to see, we want to not just to see, but we want to show another side of the world, because it's not all narratives and bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes that ugly truth can be a rose in disguise. So, but yeah, I just, even with all the drama and the bullshit, because you can't be a part of something great without the bump roads, without the bumps in the roads. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing that I know that, me and you and Silk and Matt, we really wanted to be further along than we are this year already. But I feel like that wasn't God's plan. You know what I'm saying? And I think the plan that God had for us is the way that it's forming out. And it's not for us to sit there and to call our opportunity, but to sit there and to grab the opportunity when it is put there in front of us. And that's what we have done. So, and that's God's plan, because just gotta leave it to our power. You know what I'm saying? So, also, I want to know too. We will be doing an exclusive interview sometime this week. I know it made national news. The teacher out of Akron, Ohio, Mr. Smith, and I really wanted to do this story because that is Black history. You know what I'm saying? It's all history, regardless if it's ugly. It's true Black history, and the way that they're covering it up in Akron, I don't like it. I don't appreciate it. And if they really want to call CRT, that's what they're doing. That's critical race theory, by you disciplining and taking away from our kids, just because of the simple fact of that politics doesn't like it. Politics shouldn't be included in our schools anymore. And if people can't see that politics, Republicans and Democrats aren't ruining our great nation, then I don't know what else to say. And it ain't really a great nation, but we're destined to make it one. So That's all the urban conservative got tonight.
Yeah, we both like it was a loaded episode. I didn't even realize we went this long.
But yeah, let's go on and wrap it up. I'm gonna lay my butt down and get some Z's for a little, and I'm sure you probably finna do the same, my brother. But yeah, no, we definitely have some really good things in the pipeline in store for y'all. So stay tuned. And again, as usual, you're tuned into Arm Yourself with Knowledge. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, or if you'd like to reach out, you have any information for us, you have some testimonies you'd love to share, or you know someone who does, you remember something that you think will be pertinent to something from the past or today, or could help someone, whatever the case may be, to help further amplify, uplift our people and the human race, feel free to DM us on the Leon Block Facebook page, YouTube. You can message us. You can text us 484-909-0873 or email us. And the links are at the bottom of the screen scrolling. Go ahead and subscribe if you're following on YouTube. Appreciate
You
the love,
already
y'all.
know what it is. Win or fail, freedom or heaven or hell. Wish us well.